Good morning, all of you. In today's session, we are going to start with CSIR NET GRF Chemical Science, December 2015, Part B, Series 3, right? So this Part B is completely made into 3 series. First series 15 questions, second series 20, third series 15 questions have been recorded. And in addition to this question paper, earlier we recorded 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20 academic year, June as well as December question papers of CSIR NET GRF Chemical Science have been recorded and all are available. All solved question papers are available on the channel called World of Competitive Chemistry. This kind of previous year question paper discussion will help you for further preparation towards your entrance examination and any competitive exam as well, right? Being it is a standard question paper, it will fetching for your preparation and so question paper weightage and chapter wise weightage and question paper pattern, question pattern, question framing, everything will be analyzed if you are going to discuss about this kind of previous year question paper. Let us enter into our actual concept. So here CSIR NET GRF Chemical Science, December 2015, Part B Series 3 consists of question number 56 to 70 of this paper. Let us discuss question number 56. If the reduced mass of diatomic molecule is doubled without changing its force constant, the vibrational frequency of the molecule will be, right? What we are doing, we are going to change the reduced mass without changing the force constant, and what is the impact on vibrational frequency, that to be analyzed. For that purpose, we have the formula. Frequency nu is equal to 1 by 2 pi root k by mu. Mu denotes a reduced mass, and here mu denotes the frequency of the stretching frequency of diatomic molecule. What they are saying, reduced mass will be doubled. That's why we have to indicate 2 mu here. Here, nu is equal to 1 by 2 pi root k by 2 mu can be taken. So that when we take a 2 mu, reduced mass when doubled, what happens here? The stretching frequency will be converted into 1 by root 2. So it can be converted into 1 by root 2 times compared to the original frequency, right? So that is given in the option number 2. For question number 56, option number 2 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 57. The standard deviation of speed, sigma c, for the maximal distribution satisfies the relation. Standard deviation of the speed, which is denoted as sigma c. So in accordance with maximal distribution, what is the relation between this maximal speed and the temperature? For that purpose, we have the formula F nu. Nu denotes what? Frequency is equal to 4 pi m by 2 pi RT whole to the power 3 by 2 nu square E inverse mv square by 2 RT can be taken. Standard deviation of the speed is sigma c is proportional to root t. Sigma c is proportional to root t. So that is provided in option number 2. For question number 57, option number 2 is the correct answer. And let us move on to question number 58. The value of delta U minus delta H for the reaction Fe2O3 solid plus 3 carbon solid gives rise to 2 iron solid plus 3 carbonyl gas is. Here is the difference, that is delta U denotes what? Internal energy difference. Delta H denotes what? Enthalpy difference. So this can be taken. So when we take the difference of these two for this reaction, what is the reaction? Ferric oxide upon treating with carbon, formation of iron plus carbon monoxide is possible. Here, always, whenever we are going to apply the relation here, delta N denotes the valency, and that to be taken only in the gaseous form. Here it is very clear that gaseous state of the atoms can be, our molecules can be considered for this evaluation, right? Being ferric oxide, carbon, iron, all are solids, these may not be considered for the calculation purpose. Only carbon monoxide is regarded in this problem, right? Now let us see the relation. What is the interrelation between internal energy and also enthalpy change? That is given by delta U is equal to delta H minus delta NGRT. So this is a formula. If we take the difference, delta U minus delta H is equal to what is the formula? Delta NGRT. Here, delta N denotes what? Number of moles of the compound that should be in the gaseous state. Here we have only carbonyl group is in gaseous and the remaining all are in the solid forms only. Hence, you can you can indicate that N as a 3. And delta U minus delta H is equal to minus delta 3 RT. So that is provided in option number 1. For question number 58, option number 1 is the correct answer. This is purely based on the gaseous nature. So considering gaseous nature apart from all the solid molecules, right? So the formula can be delta U is equal to delta H plus delta Ng RT. So in this formula, we incorporated all the things so that we got minus delta 3 RT. The difference is taken as minus delta 3 RT, right? So that is option number 1. Question number 58, option number 1 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 59. If the pressure P is greater than the P surroundings, P system is greater than P surroundings, then what happens? This is a kind of question from thermodynamics where we are applying the pressure, that system pressure is greater than surrounding pressure. System pressure is greater than surrounding pressure. Obviously, that system will work on the surroundings. Work is done on the surroundings by the system because system pressure is greater than surrounding pressure. Obviously, there is a possibility of surroundings have been worked by the system. That is provided in option number 2. For question number 59, option number 2 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 60. Two different non-zero operators A cap and B cap. A cap in non is equal to B cap satisfy the relation A cap plus B cap into A cap minus B cap is equal to A square minus B square, right? So two different non-zero operators A, B have been given to us. Then which statement holds good for this equation we have to depict, right? So here, what they are saying, A plus B, A minus B is equal to A square minus B square. In general, what is the formula of this one? In general, A plus B into A minus B is equal to, the formula will be A square plus BA minus AB minus B square. This is the actual we have to write in accordance with mathematical calculations, right? But so within the problem they mentioned this exactly is equal to A square minus B square. This is equal to A square minus B square. That indicates that so AB minus BA value will be 0. Then only the statement whatever given within the problem holds good for us. So that is given in the option number 4. The difference between AB operator minus BA operator is taken as 0. Then only A plus B into A minus B becomes A square minus B square, right? For question number 60, option number 4 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 61. The degeneracy of excited state of the particle in three-dimensional cubic box with the energy 3 times its ground state energy is, right? So what is the degeneracy of three-dimensional box when its energy raised by 3 times? The formula for three-dimensional box, energy formula will be En is equal to Nx square, Ny square, Nz square. Being it is three-dimensional, we have to consider x coordinate, y coordinate, and even z coordinate. Nx square plus Ny square plus Nz square by L square into H square by 8m. This is the empirical formula for the energy calculation of three-dimensional box. Then first level energy is given as 3K. The probable degeneracy, the probable orientations for first level energy will be 2, 2, 1. It can be rearranged in the form of 2, 1, 2. So we can rearrange one more time, 1, 2, 2. So this entire energy after calculation, it is taken as 9K. And one more possibility, second level energy is 2, 1, 1. This is a one possibility and it can be represented in 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2 also. So that here again 3 possible degenerated states are available where energy pertaining to this one will be 6K. And the degeneracy will be, means number of probable arrangements are called degeneracy. That is given by 3. So for 9K energy level, 1, 1, 1 is possible where energy will be 3K. So in this manner, so ground state energy, the degeneracy of excited state three-dimensional particle will be 3. So already we discussed these are the probable degenerated states. So that is given in the option number 1. For question number 61, option number 1 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 62. Delta H of the reaction is equal to slope of the plot of, okay. Again, it is a part of thermodynamics. Delta H denotes what? Change in the enthalpy of the reaction is equal to the plot of. Then what is the formula? The formula will be delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S. Okay, so we can integrate this equation with respect to temperature. So differentiation with the temperature, dg by dt, dg by t is equal to dh by t minus tds by t. Okay, both the sides we can divide with temperature. dg by t is equal to dh by t minus tds by t. Tt get cancelled, so that the formula will be dg by t is equal to dh by t minus ds. What is the form of equation? Equation is in the form of y is equal to mx minus c. Y is equal to mx minus c. Y coordinate will be dg by dt. dg by dt taken the y coordinate. Then x coordinate will be 1 by t. 1 by t taken on the x coordinate. Then dh will be the slope. That only they are mentioning. Delta h is taken as the slope. So that delta h is the slope, and the intercept is, what is the intercept here? Minus ds. So it is depicted as a minus, so that here it is away from this line. After 0 we will get minus ds, so that is denoted with dotted line. This is the intercept. Okay, so for this, where we have to plot delta g by delta t versus 1 by t can be plotted. Delta g by t versus 1 by t, that is given in the option number 4. For question number 62, option number 4 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 63. The correct form of the simple Longmuir isotherm is Longmuir isotherm. Here, adsorption isotherms are calculated by 3 different ways. One is called Freundlich adsorption isotherm. Second is called Longmuir adsorption isotherm. Third is called Bett adsorption isotherm. Freundlich adsorption isotherm purely depends upon the physical adsorption. Longmuir adsorption isotherm depends upon the chemical adsorption. Bett adsorption isotherm, more than one component when present, we can employ that Bett adsorption isotherm. Longmuir adsorption isotherm, the empirical formula is theta is equal to Kp by 1 plus Kp. That is given in the option number 3. For question number 63, option number 3, this is the direct question. After the lengthy derivation, we will get the final answer, that is theta is equal to Kp by 1 plus Kp. Here theta denotes what? Extent of surface covered by the particles. Fraction of surface covered by the particles is denoted with this theta, right? Here K denotes what? K adsorption by K desorption will be taken here. Okay, theta will be the fraction of surface covered by the particles. The formula will be theta is equal to Kp by 1 plus Kp, right? Let us move on to question number 64. In the Kohlrausch law, lambda m molar conductance is equal to lambda naught minus k under root c. Lambda naught m and k are. What is lambda naught? What is k? So what are the parameters in order to define these? So Kohlrausch law is applicable to infinite dilution. So here lambda n is equal to lambda naught minus k under root c can be employed, where lambda naught and k purely depends upon what? Mainly depends upon specific identity of the electrolyte and stoichiometry respectively. Specific identity of the electrolyte. Electrolyte, what is meant by electrolyte? Electrolyte is nothing but any compound can be dissociated into ions and used to carry the electrical charge is called electrolyte. And the stoichiometry, in the sense, if we balance the equation in terms of number of moles, in terms of number of electrons, in terms of number of atoms, everything is in balanced equation, that is said to be stoichiometry. So here, specific identity and stoichiometry are the major parameters in order to define this Kohlrausch law, right? So for question number 64, option number 4 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 65. It is the part of polymer chemistry. The correct expression for the product Mn bar into Mw bar. Mn and Mw denotes what? Number average and weight average molar mass respectively of the polymer. If we take the product, most probably they will ask the question like there is a ratio. That means Mn by Mw, what is the ratio? They will ask in general. But here it is somewhat twisted. Question got somewhat twisted. Mn bar into Mw bar is equal to. So if we go with Mn denotes what? Number average molar mass. It is given by sigma Ni Mi by sigma Ni. Then weight average molar mass is given as sigma Ni Mi bar by sigma Ni Mi. Right. Always weight average will be higher when compared to number average. What could be the reason? Because in the numerator we have the square of molar mass. In the numerator denominator there is no such kind of probability in number average, so that Always weight average will be greater when compared to number average. When we take the product of these two, when we multiply these two, Mn and Mw, that will become n inverse sigma Ni Mi square. N inverse sigma Ni Mi square, that is provided in option number 2. For question number 65, option number 2 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 66. The concentration of magnesium sulfate solution having ionic strength of 0.1 molar sodium sulfate solution. Here, two different electrolytic solutions were given. One is magnesium sulfate, second is sodium sulfate. And based on ionic strength, you have to find out concentration of magnesium sulfate. Already sodium sulfate was given. Magnesium sulfate to be predicted. Let us see how it is possible. Here, ionic strength of magnesium sulfate, how it can be dissociated. Magnesium being it is bivalent, can be attaining +2 charge, and sulfate SO4- 2 can be. This is the extent of ionization of magnesium sulfate. When we go with sodium sulfate can be ionized as 2 Na plus and SO4- 2, right? Sodium sulfate concentration is 0.1. Sodium ion concentration, how many sodium ions are there? 2. So its concentration obviously becomes 0.1, and sulfate ion concentration also 0.1. So this is for sodium sulfate. Then let us apply the formula called ionic strength. Ionic strength is given by half sigma Mi Zi square. What is the formula? I denotes ionic strength. Ionic strength or total ionic strength is equal to half sigma Mi Zi square. Let us go with first compound magnesium sulfate. So here M denotes what? It's a molar mass can be taken. Here we are molarity can be taken. We are indicating C because whose the concentration A to be determined. So that's why we are just indicating as C, right? So half into C into 2 square. Here 2 square can be taken plus 2 C into 2 square. What is 2? Why we are taking 2 square? Because Z denotes what? A charge. So charge square can be taken. What is the magnesium charge? Plus 2. That's why 2 square can be taken plus C, because its concentration also unknown to us. That's the reason why it is again indicated as C into. Again sulfate ion charge will be 2. 2 square can be taken. Half into C into 2 square plus C into 2 square. This is for magnesium sulfate. That exactly is equal to half into what is the concentration of this sodium plus ions. Sodium plus ions 2 into 0.1, it will become 0.2. Then what is the charge on this one? Only 1 square. Then sulfate ion, its concentration is 0.1. What is the charge? -2, so that we can impart 2 square here, right? So it is the formula. Here we can go with the multiplication. Here half left side, half right side, both the parameters get compensated. Half gets striked up. Okay. This 1/2 can strike it up. Then it will become C into 2 square nothing but 4C plus C into 2 square nothing but 4C. 4C plus 4C is equal to 0.2 plus 0.4, because here also we have 0.1 into 2 square. 2 square is nothing but 4. 4 into 0.1, 0.4. So 8C is equal to 0.6. 8C is equal to 0.6. Now C is equal to 0.6 by 8. Nothing but 0.075. This is the concentration of magnesium sulfate solution. Magnesium sulfate concentration will be 0.075. That is given in the option number 3. For question number 66, option number 3 is the correct answer. This is in accordance with ionic strength, chemical equilibrium question it is. Okay, let us move on to question number 67. S-hybridized orbital are the form of C12S plus C22PZ. 2S, 2PZ are normalized individually. Coefficients of the normalized form of above sp hybridized orbitals are, sp hybridized orbitals are given here. When sp hybridization is there, contribution of s orbital 50, contribution of p orbital also 50, right? Then what are the C1, C2 coefficient values we have to predict if both are normalized individually? Now let us go with C1 2S plus C2 2PZ. C1 square plus C2 square is equal to 1. C1 is equal to 1 by root 2. C2 is equal to plus or minus 1 by root 2. So from this equation we can calculate C1 is equal to 1 by root 2, C2 is equal to plus or minus 1 by root 2. That is provided in option number 1. So C1 is equal to 1 by root 2, C2 is equal to plus or minus 1 by root 2. For question number 67, option number 1 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 68. The correct statement among the following is, this is in accordance with molecular orbital theory. MOT theory was given. Nitrogen has higher bond order than N2 plus and hence larger bond length compared to N2 plus. Okay. So first we have to write their electron allocation. How it will be? 2 nitrogen atoms were taken. Nitrogen electronic configuration will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. Half filled system it is. And how can we contribute these electrons in molecular orbitals? So sigma 1s2, sigma star 1s2, sigma 2s2, sigma star 2s2, pi 2p, x square, pi 2p, y square, sigma 2p, z square can be taken. So this is about the contribution of electrons into the molecular orbitals. Now let us go with bond order depiction. The formula will be nitrogen bond order is equal to half into number of electrons present in bonding molecular orbital minus number of electrons present in antibonding molecular orbital. How many bonding electrons are there? 2 plus 2, 4, 4 plus 2, 6, 8, 10. Antibonding electrons are 2, 4. Only 4 are there. That means here half 10 minus 4, this will become 10 minus 4, 6. 6 by 2 can be taken 2 3s. So 3. Nitrogen bond order will be 3. When we are taking N2 positive, N2 positive bond order will be 1 by 2. Here, one of the electron lost. So that simply you can write 9 minus 4. 9 minus 4 by 2, it will be 2.5. So 2.5 will be the bond order of nitrogen ion, cation. So whenever bond order decreased, bond order got decreased when compared to this nitrogen, what happened? Bond dissociation energy, how can we compare their bond dissociation energy and bond lengths? Greater the bond order, what happens? Stronger the bond will be and higher will be the bond energy. Bond dissociation energy will be higher. Then bond length will be shorter. Triple bond will be shorter when compared to double bond and when compared to single bond. Okay. So when we take triple bond, what happens? Triple bond distance will be smaller and double bond distance will be somewhat longer and single bond still longer bonds will be there. Okay. So here when we compare these two, 3, 2.5, 3 for nitrogen, 2.5 for N2 positive. So here shorter will be N2, longer will be N2 positive. Then within the problem where they mentioned nitrogen has higher bond order, that is the correct one only. And hence larger bond length is the wrong statement. Nitrogen higher bond order N2 plus, hence higher bond dissociation energy compared to N2 plus. This is the correct statement. Bond order, bond dissociation energy, both are direct proportionality, direct interrelated. As the number of bonds increases, we have to give the extra energy to cleave, so that here bond dissociation energy also higher, right? So for question number 68, option number 3 is the correct answer. Let us move on to question number 69. The formation constant for the complex M place with a cryptand C222 follows the order. Formation constant mainly depends upon the stability of the complex form. Where the stability is more, there the formation complex will be more. This is a cryptand. Cryptand C222 was taken, right? It is a kind of crown ether type of molecule where we have oxygens in this cyclic system, and even nitrogen is also present. Okay, so only oxygens are there. That is called crown ether. And when nitrogens also present, that is called cryptand. So nitrogen also present in the system. It is called, when we insert a central metal into this. So central metal when inserted into this, that may be lithium, sodium, potassium, cesium. All belongs to what? Alkali metals only. All belongs to alkali metals only. Then where the formation constant order will be, correct order of formation constant for all these alkali metals, we have to predict for this cryptand, obviously. So the size of this cryptand will be suitable for the insertion of K plus potassium ion, so that obviously only one option is provided to us in order to depict. So potassium having higher stability, consequently formation constant will be higher, and subsequently sodium, and the next will be cesium, and least will be for lithium. So even though lithium is smaller, it should be conveniently associated, but what happens, it will slide from that one, skip from that one, so that here lithium, so it is given here. So potassium having the suitable size for this, that's the reason why here potassium followed by sodium followed by cesium followed by lithium, this is the formation constant in accordance with their stability. For question number 16, option number 1 is the correct answer. Let us move on to last question of the series. It's a very simple, match the following. So medicinal compounds are provided, and their compound structure and compound name should be mapped. So column A with the chemical structure, column B with the chemical name of the compound was given. All belongs to the medicines which are having the most frequent use. Okay, so first compound where isobutyl is there, obviously it is the ibuprofen. Isobutyl, ibu denotes what? Isobutyl is nothing but ibuprofen. So this is the pain relieving anti-inflammatory agent. So this is a P with a Z. And second is about OHCOO-ME. OHCOO-ME is there, where carboxylic acid got esterified. Carboxylic acid got esterified. That's the reason why this is said to be oil of wintergreen. It is the flavoring agent, food fragrance, food additivities. And one more thing is COOH, O, C double bond, CH. This is the derivative of salicylic acid, so called aspirin. And aspirin is the most frequent compound used in the pain relieving agent. Let us discuss in detail about all these compounds. First is about aspirin. O-acetyl salicylic acid is the chemical name of aspirin, and we have ortho substituted compound where carboxylic acid is one substituent and either ester functional group is present within the compound. And this aspirin is majorly used for the relief of pains and also fever conditions. If any inflammations, any redness and swellings are there, all kind of these impacts can be treated by using this aspirin. And second is about ibuprofen. Ibuprofen is the drug of benzene having isobutyl moiety and the para position, and this is a kind of carboxylic acid which is present at the first position. This ibuprofen is said to be a familiar non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agent. Any severe pain containing muscle contraction will be there, inflammations are there, tissue damage is there, all can be repaired, all can be treated by using this ibuprofen. And next is about oil of wintergreen. So instead of OH, if we are esterifying this carboxylic acid, that is said to be a oil of wintergreen. Here esterified compound of this carboxylic acid of salicylic acid is called oil of wintergreen. It is the most probable fragrant agent, pleasant smell containing agent, and mostly used as a food flavoring agent, right? All these are the compounds provided here. P with a Z is given in the option number 2 and 3 both. So Q can be mapped with the X, so that is only available in option number 2, and R with the Y, so that is given in option number 2. So only option number 2 is the correct answer. For question number 70, option number 2 is the correct answer. By this, we completed the entire series of this part B. So in this, all 15 questions got discussed. I hope this will be very much helpful for your preparation. Thank you very much for your patience listening. Thank you one and all.